Hey guys, just want to quickly jump on here and say sorry in advance for some of the audio quality in this episode. We did have a few technical difficulties with some of the microphones, but we hope that doesn't stop you from enjoying this episode. Thanks guys.
Welcome to the Active Hub podcast.
Conversations to motivate, inspire and encourage you on your movement journey.
I'm your host, Ricky Bolmers.
And I'm your co-host, JT. Welcome back to another episode of the Active Hub podcast. Today we're really excited to bring you a different type of episode. We've got something that we're super passionate about, which is a charity ride called Ride for Change. And we're lucky enough to have two amazing guests with us. One of them is our very own Ricky, who is the director and co-founder of Ride for Change. And we also have some other guy named Jacob, who happens to be the assistant director of Ride for Change. So yeah, keen to be having this chat today.
It's actually nice to have Jacob on a podcast now. He's always been in the background, just off camera.
Just watching us and laughing at us. So.
Well, yeah.
The original listener.
I feel stressed when he watches. But yeah, thanks for being on the podcast today.
Oh, thanks for having me. Pleasure.
Awesome. Well, I thought for you guys today, I could bring a little bit of a riddle for you guys, just to, like we said, we like to warm things up, get the brains working. So this will either make your brain a bit warmer or might make you freeze. So
I thought that's what coffee was for.
No, coffee doesn't do that. All right. Are you ready? I ask this question all day long and get a completely different answer every time, yet the answer is always right. What is the question?
And ask the question all the time, all day long.
Mm-hmm. I get a different answer every time, yet the answer is always right.
I don't know, what's the time?
That's correct. Yeah. Ricky, you're all right.
Was that right?
That's right. Very good.
That's why.
I thought you were the riddle king.
I thought it'd
Jacob.
be either... I got too hung up on the answer of the question being the word right. But yeah, no.
You went down the wrong path.
The time was... That's a good move. I like it. Good
Ricky.
riddle, JT.
That's why he's the assistant director. I'm the director.
Yeah, he's a smarter one.
Because I got riddle game.
Yeah. Well, since you got that right, why don't we start with
I got him.
Why don't we start with you? Do you want to tell us, first of all, what is Ride for Change for all those listeners who have absolutely no idea?
Yep. Essentially, Ride for Change is a charity ride that raises money for kids in PNG, a school up in PNG, and that's the Gateway Children's Fund.
Yep.
We've been going for about 12 years now, so 2012 was our first epic ride.
Yep.
And we've done Sydney to Melbourne 3 times. We've done Adelaide to Melbourne once. And I guess each time we do the ride, we sort of grow and get a little bit bigger. But, you know, I guess what I've seen that, you know, it's not just life-changing for kids that we raise funds for, which is, you know, it's insanely awesome. I've actually had the privilege of helping to build that school over in PNG, but you know, it's a great opportunity for regular people, cyclists, non-cyclists, to come in, team up and do something maybe what they thought they wouldn't be able to do, and surprise themselves. You know, I guess like it's the sense of challenging your body personally, reaching an epic goal. But like, just, I think something happens when you do something a little bit crazy as a team. And all the different strengths sort of lay into one, and they operate at different times. And, you know, sometimes people are up, sometimes people are down. You know, so essentially it's more than raising funds. It's changing, you know, regular people's lives, for sure.
Can you give us some context to how big this like challenge is that you said, like a physical challenge? So you said you've ridden from Sydney to Melbourne a few times and then from Adelaide to Melbourne. So how long is that ride for?
So it's 7 days. So it's the tagline's been 1,000 Ks in 7 days.
So equates to probably like 150 kilometres a day of riding.
Yeah. So essentially we ride from accommodation to accommodation. So it depends on where the accommodation is.
Yeah.
Is to how long the distance is. I think the biggest day in the past has been
2:30.
Yeah, 2:30 probably. Yeah.
So for all those people out there who aren't cyclists, that's a really decent ride, and you're doing that back-to-back days.
Yeah, I think like it's really hard. It's something really hard to train for because you don't really have time to build up, to get the big Ks back to back, because people work and have jobs and have families and stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
And for non-cyclists, it takes about an hour to ride 29, 30 Ks. So if you're riding 200 kilometres at 30 Ks an hour, that's a lot of hours.
Yeah. I say you were trying to do the maths there. But
you just go, it's a lot of hours.
It's like an ultra marathon.
Every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but like on the actual ride, there's stops. We program in stops, and so essentially some of the days are 8 hours long.
Yeah. And so you said the ride has been getting bigger every year you've done it. What does that look like?
Yeah, I guess like if we go back to like the first ride we did and sort of how we sort of started the ride. The first ride was 1,000 Ks in 7 days from Sydney. Essentially, I think for me, I was in my early 20s. I sort of wanted a bit more of a challenge, or something crazy to do. I'm that kind of person that likes to push himself, and there's a sort of a group of friends that had at the time, and sort of brought it to them and said, hey, originally we said, let's ride from the top of Australia all the way down. And then we realised how ridiculous that was, and say, hey, well, let's just start. We'll go from Sydney. We'll do 1,000 Ks. I'm glad we did that, because
probably wouldn't have made it back yet.
We'll still be riding. So essentially, just started with this idea, and we're like, oh, well, if we're doing it, let's raise some money as well. And we were super keen, ready for a challenge. Thought we looked great in Lycra, and we sort of, we gave it a crack. We sort of, I think my parents actually came on the first one and cooked some food and organised accommodation for it. So, and that was like the week before we sort of got them in to do that, to organise accommodation. So it was pretty. And
was that first one also raising money for Gateway Children's Fund?
Yeah, it was. We sort of thought, if we're going to do this, we might as well do it for more purpose than just doing a crazy ride to feel good about that, which is also a great great thing to do. You don't have to raise funds for everything you do, but we thought, well, let's leverage that. And little did we know how hard that was going to be. And I think training could have been a lot better going into it. It's hard. It's something that's really unknown, and I don't think we really investigated what riding those kind of Ks, what we'd need to do. So, like as soon as we had a headwind, I remember like looking down at my bike computer, we're doing 14 Ks an hour, which is like, if you're doing 14 Ks an hour for like 100 Ks, it's a long day. If you're doing it for 200 Ks, it's a long day. There was one day where like we were sort of winging the route along the way. So there was one day we rode 50 Ks in the wrong direction. So it was like off track. It was actually like the most beautiful part of that ride, because like it was just like, it was tiny roads, like the back of really nice open paddocks and stuff like that. There was sheep across the road. So it was beautiful, but it ended up being, I don't know, that would have probably been more than 230, but I can't actually remember that. I think I was so fatigued from that day.
Just lost in your memory.
Yeah, but when we were told to stop, and the car support told us, oh, we've gone 50 Ks in the wrong direction. Everyone's spirit just went, and it was the most brutal. From there on was like the hardest, from emotions, like, because when you're super tired, it's really hard to control your emotions. So like, I think that was definitely a learning from that. But from a little crazy idea, to raising funds, it's sort of and then to what it is now, it's just like, it's chalk and cheese. Like you couldn't even imagine starting there. But I guess you got to start somewhere.
Well, we'll chat a bit about what this like upcoming ride, what the prep looks like for that. But in terms of leading up to that first ride, was it pretty like unplanned and just kind of like just see how you go on the ride?
I think we tried. We sort of had a rough idea, but like I said, my my parents got roped in to do all the food and accommodation a week before. So they're literally on the phone to accommodation saying, "Can we stay with you a week before?"
Wow.
And I think for that one we had 8 cyclists,
Right.
which is a great number to convince, to get started with.
Yeah.
And look, probably back then I didn't think we were going to do another one and then another one and it'd be an actual thing. But I guess starting things is important. You never know what it's going to lead to.
Yeah. Yep.
As rough as the start was.
Yeah.
But look, we did make the 1,000 Ks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how much money did you raise in that first one?
I think we actually raised 10,000,
Awesome.
which
Decent.
Yeah, it was amazing for how unorganised and social media was. I think we had Facebook then, and it wasn't really much of a thing. So to raise that money it's a pretty good. Yeah, I was pretty stoked with that. I remember raising money's changed a lot. I think we had carrying around the slips with the books that people ride and give you cash. No one gives you cash anymore.
Nah.
Yeah.
And so you said at the start that you're raising money for the Gateway Children's Fund, which helps a school in PNG. So why that charity? Why did you guys choose that charity?
Yeah, I think it's very close to my heart. My father-in-law actually started that, and I head up some project managing there in terms of helping build classrooms and schools, the school system there. So, I do a lot of my background's being a carpenter. So, I remember going there. I can't remember. It's years ago. I've been going there for about 14 years now. So, going there the first time, it's changed a lot, and which is great. It's developed, but I was very uncomfortable. So it sort of, grew a passion in me to sort of I've got some skill in carpentry. I can help out, and I had the privilege of watching a school go from their first classroom to. How many classrooms have they got now, Jacob?
They've got prep through to year 6 now.
Yeah, so it's... Yeah.
Except there's 2 classes who I think are in year 5 or 6 this year.
Yep.
So one year we just had an extra class. So
look, it's a privilege to see something grow. The charity that we're raising money for, and also the ride itself, seeing them both grow, and how, the ride can now support a lot of what they do.
What was uncomfortable about that first trip?
I just think we're quite privileged in Australia, and I think I didn't realise how privileged we were and how much easier it is here. I think I was just where the school is, it's sort of they build houses out of a lot of scrap, and there's not much money going through there. It's developed a lot now, but they just sort of build with what they have.
Developed more than it was.
Yeah.
It's still a long way off as you said, the privilege we have here.
I was going to ask you, Jacob, as well, because you've obviously been there recently. What was your first time there like? What did you get from it?
I've been, I think 6 times now. I'm going again in less than a month. I go over to, we do once a year a trip. I'm definitely far from being a carpenter like Ricky. Don't give me a hammer. But I can schmooze a bit. So I go over there with the fundraising trip. So you can't take grants from... You can't make grants in Australia and translate them over to Papua New Guinea. So we try to get grants and sponsorships and things in country in Papua New Guinea. So I go over with a team and talk to business people and sort of people who are like expats and things who are over there. And we run a golf day, a chairman's dinner. We do a ladies' high tea. And the purpose of that is to raise awareness for what's happening down the road, because a lot of them don't get to see that. They get flown over there to be a manager of a business, and then for a lot of them, they're either in their hotel or they're in their workplace or they're at the golf club, and so they don't really have an image in their mind of what's happening just 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers away. So we show them, we introduce them to the need that's around the corner, and then encourage them to sort of be an ambassador for us in their business, to help us get grants and to be generous. And a lot of them respond, and there's some very generous people over in Papua New Guinea we're very grateful for that help us to support that school year in and year out.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So would you both be able to say that you've been able to firsthand see the effects of Ride for Change in PNG?
Yeah.
I remember, I think it was 2019, once we raised funds from that year, I was over a couple of months later building the classroom from what we raised. So that was pretty powerful. From getting people on board to raise funds to then helping build the classroom. Yeah, it's an honour to be able to do something like that. It's definitely pretty cool.
Yeah, once in a lifetime opportunity.
Well, it's been a few times in a lifetime for me now,
but for most people, they don't get to see that.
And there's some complicated parts of building process that we want to be excellent. So we bring a team over to make those specific parts of that job done well. But one of the other things I love about the charity is, as much as we can, we use people from Papua New Guinea to build and to run the school. The teachers are all nationals. Everyone's, as much as we can, we try to put into the community there to support the entire community, not just the school, as much as we can, just to keep putting resources to the people that are there instead of just bringing people over. But someone with the skills that like Ricky has and the team that he takes, it's hard to match. So it's so great what you guys do over there, really laying a solid foundation to build a school that will last.
Yeah. Today's episode is brought to us by First Project Cycles. Every journey has to start somewhere. So hey, why not start at First Project Cycles? If you're a cyclist or want to start cycling, you can grab a new bike, nutrition, or any bike needs from these guys. Incredible team that will help you out with any needs that you have bike related. Nice local Camberwell store. So thanks First Projects for your support.
So let's get back to that first ride that you did. So obviously you said that, it was kind of a bit of a learn on the way journey, and there was, times we went the wrong way. So I'm sure there was a few grumpy faces on that ride. Were you lucky enough to have anyone say they want to come back and do another ride?
Look, when you're that tired, everyone was grumpy when they got told they were 50k. We thought we were tracking good. Look, I think 4 people from the first one ended up coming back to the second one. And yeah, look, I think you learn. I think we accidentally were learning. I didn't think from the first one we planned to do a second one, but I think raising 10 grand sort of like, let's see if we can raise more money. But yeah, look, we didn't. Yeah, there's a few people that didn't want to see their bike again, which is fair enough. Like I think I can look back and see what I was learning at the time, but I was just learning that, okay, so there actually needs to be some, obviously, better prep with training, and then also prep with when people are really tired, they're going to get grumpy.
Yeah.
You see the best and the worst of people when they get tired. So I don't think anything really, I think we got a little bit better, but we didn't really... I think people were aware of, you actually have to train a bit harder than we did. But I don't think we really had much of a plan in terms of training that was better. I think I was in charge of training people. So
come a long way.
Yeah, we've definitely come a long way, and I've learnt, especially racing as an athlete, I've learnt what you need to train for. So.
Has anyone done every ride?
There's 2 of us that have done every ride. So it's me and an old guy called Rob Gillette, who is 73 years old.
Wow.
He'll be 74 next year when we do the next one.
And is he doing that right?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
So he's an epic human. He's sort of got through a cancer journey in the process as well, and so he's a very strong. Yeah. I
hope I'm like him when I'm 74.
We've actually got 2 74s, 4-year-olds for next year's ride.
Wow.
So. And they're beasts. Like Jacob was saying, like if we're like that when we're 74 years old,
So why do you think that someone like Rob would come back and do every ride, or new people would join and keep continuing to come on the ride?
I think for Rob, he's a separate beast. He just loves cycling.
Yeah.
Like if I text him right now and say, "Do you want to go for a ride?" He'll say yes.
Where and when?
Yeah, pretty much. So he's always keen for a ride, and he loves challenging himself. He's been a great person in my life, bit of a mentor. You know, with a few of my journeys that I've been through, he's encouraged me along the way. But yeah, he loves cycling and he loves challenging himself. So he's a bit of a different beast.
Yeah.
But look, when we got to the third ride, this is when we shifted the name, and there was sort of, so it was, I think, 2012, 2013, and then a big gap to 2019. And when I decided that I was going to do it again, I'd thought long and hard about what could I do to make sure when people are super tired that they can still operate more positively and still be able to encourage. So I think that was my focus for the next ride. And we got, I can't actually remember how many we got on that. I think 14, 15 we got on that one. And two of the things I worked on was training. So making sure people were as fit and ready for this ride as they possibly could be, because then when they get super tired is a lot further away. So that's one way to stop people getting to that place where they've got no energy, and the grumps come out, which is fair. Like when you're tired, like, man, I get grumpy. And then the second thing on top of that was focusing on the culture.
Yeah.
So I put in place with the training that would start a year out and would do monthly group rides. I also created a Strava group, which I'd be able to see in that group everyone who's been training and how much they've trained for the week. So I could help be on the front foot to make sure they know that I'm encouraging them when they're training, and also if they need to lift their training, I can encourage them to do that as well. So that was a bit of accountability. And so the monthly group rides were a great opportunity to get together as a team. Now, when you've got cyclists on, like, for the first 3 rides from Sydney, it was literally just on the highway.
Yeah.
When you've got trucks at 110 k's an hour pulling past you, like, they sort of suck you in. So there's a lot of things that I sort of was like, all right, we need to really work on safety, because it's on my head for the guys running this. If someone hurts himself or gets hit by a car or something like that. So I felt the weight of that going into this one. I think I'd grown up a little bit, and
you weren't just riding for fun anymore.
Yeah. But like key point is, if culture is keeping the fun in it. So we wanted to keep that in, but I also wanted to be realistic. Like, let's get together once a month and ride together as a group. Because we can learn each other's quirks. So I know what, by the time we get to the ride, I know what, when Rob Gillette stands up, for some reason, his bike goes backwards. So I know if he stands up, he's going to come back. So I'm ready to go, with that. So it's not just up to me to know that. It's trying to get the whole group to learn how we all have little different quirks on a bike and stuff. And the more you know, the more it's a habit, the more the reaction is going to be the right reaction and avoid crashes. So, yeah, so the monthly group rides were important to get together as a team and to learn all the safety. I could also start implement and make sure they're having gels and got electrolytes in their bottle, because one of the biggest things that we train the Ks on the bike, but a lot of people forget that we actually have to train nutrition. So it's not actually, especially when you're under, like, doing endurance stuff, when you're under that much stress, your glycogen levels and stuff, you've got about 90 minutes of that stored. If you're not replacing it and you start undercutting your calories, eventually it'll catch up, and then it's too late. So teaching people, the importance of getting their fuel dialed in and their training dialed in. And it also meant that, the whole group was just started to gel early. So we weren't relying on getting to the week of the ride and then hopefully everyone gels. Everyone knew each other, and so knew their quirks, knew their personalities. So you knew what you were in for, and we could all adjust, accordingly and stuff like that. So I think the focus was massive on training and culture to try and get a bit of a shift in people having fun, because the sacrifice to do something like this, it's financial. You commit to raising funds. You pay to come on the ride, which covers everything: accommodations, support crew,
food.
So I wanted to make sure that I was doing all I can, that they have fun. Because it's what an experience. You get to ride a bike for a week, from Adelaide or from Sydney. It's not very often you get to do something like that. So I hold a lot of value into making sure people have fun. And they we're doing something ridiculously hard as a team. So I think it's important that the team gels.
We're talking about that team because obviously cycling is a individual, I guess, sport. Sometimes you can ride with someone else if you want to, but your focus leading up to this ride in particular was not making it an individual thing, but being a team and working together. And that doesn't just happen overnight. That doesn't just happen on the ride. You had to build that up over a year. So what have you seen come from that? Like, has there been relationships grown? Has there been, things developed from that year lead in of trying to develop as a team?
Yeah, for sure. Like, the awesome thing about this is I think it impacts your close community. I'm a triathlete, so I have a community of a lot of different cyclists, so it impacts them, but it also grows even further to people you've never met before, and they rock up and you sort of got to convince them that this is a great thing to do and they can do it. And then it's been awesome to develop relationships over time and also watch just randoms that never met each other become best mates out of this. So it's been really cool in that sense, I guess.
Yep. What about you, Jacob? What's your experience from that team element from the ride?
I've sort of got experience both as a support crew and as a rider. So the 2019 ride, I was on the support team doing the social media for the ride. And I had some people sort of write a plan up for what social media would look like, and I had to run around and get content all day, which I loved. And but the camaraderie, even just in the support team, was beautiful. Everybody's there for the same reason. They're putting in the work. They're getting up real early. They're staying up real late, preparing as much as they can so that the riders can just focus on riding. And there's this sort of it's this own little behind the scenes community of people who are having a lot of fun and doing this trip and watching the cyclists push hard and push their limits and get past levels of their fitness abilities that they didn't realize they could get past. And that was a beautiful thing to watch on the support crew and to be a part of. And it felt really good to be able to encourage people from behind the scenes and to watch them in that space. And, we had lots of little jokes and you've got a lot of time sitting in the car driving from accommodation to accommodation and backwards and forwards, making sure that replacing tires and all that sort of stuff. So you get to know that team really well. And then as a rider, I rode on the 2023 ride. Ricky challenged me. He said, are you going to ride? And we had the spreadsheet up with no names on it yet. And we needed to decide, am I going to put my name down? And I said yes. Didn't really know I knew what it looked like because I'd watched from a distance. But getting in the saddle and doing the ride was a whole different kind of experience, but a similar mateship. It was really fun. You got a lot of time just sitting on the bike for hours on end, and you rotate around, but you get to know the people that you're riding with on that ride in the training and on the actual ride so well. And it's just made lasting friendships even to now and future rides. It's great. You form a little buddy system as well in the training where it's you have your people that you text to say, I need a bit of motivation. Do you want to go for a ride? And they say yes. So yeah, from both the support and the riding perspective, I had a fantastic time, and that culture that you were talking about, I felt that on the receiving end and thought this is something really special.
Yeah, and I think another really cool thing is that you get to ride with 70-something-year-olds. I think the youngest we had was 18.
Yeah,
and you get to swap stories along the way because you're on a bike. You just chat most of the time, unless you're like really fatigued at that point. But like, it's just conversation, and you get to talk to people and hear, different life stories. I think the reason we do this podcast is because we understand the power of story.
Yeah.
And then getting an opportunity to spend a week with people and really hear, like, people will become vulnerable in that space. It's a space where people feel comfortable to do that because you are doing something ridiculously hard together. So it opens, I don't know, it's just like opens this whole that you can, be so diverse across the ages. It's just really cool. And look, one thing I didn't mention about the shift, and Jacob mentioned it, with support crew, was we put a big emphasis on the support.
Yeah.
And we are so lucky to have so many people that volunteer, pay money to come on this ride, to support the riders, to feed them, to make sure the accommodation's ready, to wash their clothes. And the kits are pretty stinky, and people are passionate and smiling, and they just want to tell everyone about this. We're incredibly lucky to have the support crew we do. And, it's grown. Like, in 2019, we then had a couple of guys who are professional photographers say, hey, can we come and do photos and videos? And, so that's they jumped in and sort of started that phenomenon, which we've got like some of the greatest sports videographers, on our ride who head up the team. Nick Roberts now who sort of heads up the team, and go back to our social media and have a look at all the reels that were created. They're phenomenal. And he, I think I learned that I'm skilled in certain areas. I'm skilled at riding a bike. I'm skilled at helping other people ride bikes, convincing them that they can do something which they probably thought they couldn't, and then supporting them to get to that goal. That's my strengths. And a part of it is, the change is realizing, all right, I need people to take roles, and to do the media, to do the food, and organise the whole other team outside of just the cyclists, but the support team, which will be 20 people this time, the support team. So, it's definitely, thankful for that crew.
Yeah. So going on to that crew, what does it look like to plan a ride these days?
Yeah, look, it's a lot. So the ride we're just about to go into next year, we've just literally started our first group ride, is a 2025 Vic Loop. So we've made it more complex this time, but we've also, as we've gone along, the last ride we sort of got some riders that were, a couple of them were national champion cyclists, and so we started to get this pool of really, really elite cyclists. So we thought, all right, let's do a third ride, because we've done at Sydney, we've done Adelaide, let's do a third ride. And I think Pete Wan, one of their riders, had been with us since 2019. He's on the team, and he goes, do you reckon we could do like a half distance? So we're toying with like 500 to 1,000 Ks, and I was like, where do you ride that's 500, to get to accommodation that's, in 7 days? So we eventually said, all right, we've got really good cyclists that could ride further than 1,000 Ks. Why don't we do like a 700 and a 1,300? So next year is 2 rides at the same time. So we're learning a lot this time because we've just made twice as much work. And we're trying to hopefully we'll have a team of 64 come May next year.
Wow.
on the bikes. So we're looking at 22 cyclists in each pack, a 700 and a 1,300 pack. But yeah, look, I'm lucky to have Jacob because admin is not my strong suit. if you ever want a spreadsheet, Jacob is your man.
Jacob's your guy.
And it can do anything for you. Like he needs to go into the
national.
the chant. They're definitely weird for sure.
Yeah.
Look, it's sort of like they go. We do them every 2 years now, so it jumps. And once we finish the last one, we start promoting the next one and building the team. So when we're a year out, we can start training as a team. So it's really hard to explain everything, but like essentially it rolls through. And we hit go on advertising for whatever ride we've come up for the next one. And then, a lot of work on branding and what colours we're going to use. And then we've got to convince. We try and hit a quota of riders, and that's our goal. And then we try and just push it and do that. But then there's a lot of behind the scenes on getting corporate sponsors, which is a lot of time I can't say that word.
Time consuming.
Yeah, thank you. Time consuming. Let alone organising that many people. And, Jacob could probably talk on that because he does all the emails and all like the comms for that.
Yeah, so sort of lock in the big stuff first. Start with locking in riders. We need people to ride to do ride for change, and locking in the support because we need them to be able to do ride for change. And then we lock in once we've got that accommodation.
So leading into the promo, we sort of come up with a rough route of where we're going. Yeah,
so we create what ride for change is going to look like, and then we sort of give it to people and say, do you want to be a part of this? And when they say yes, it's pretty much just locking in where we're going to stay, and then beyond that, once we know where we're going to stay, we know who's coming, then we just spend as much time as we can just talking with those riders and talking with the support just to get them ready. And that is something Ricky's brilliant at, is motivating people, seeing where they're at and seeing where they need to be and showing them how to get there. He did that for me in the last ride, wrote up a full training plan for me, helped get my legs on the bike. And then creating, adding on to that safety stuff, making sure that everybody has prioritised all of the rides beforehand, so that we know each other, we know how our riding styles work together before the ride as much as possible. And it's all just prep work. And the more we prepare, the better the actual ride will be, because everybody's as comfortable as they can be. And they know what to expect as much as they can. Yeah. We've got the nutrition, and we've got a bed to sleep on, and Bob's your uncle.
Yeah. And then, there's a lot more to it. That's very simple.
Putting it at a glance.
Yeah.
So for both you've obviously got very different backgrounds with cycling. Obviously, Ricky done a lot of, competition and triathlon, and Jacob, you'll come into this pretty fresh. So for both
you, fresh you didn't have a bike.
Yeah, exactly.
Bought a ride for it.
So what was the biggest challenge or difficult thing on the ride for both of you?
I think like the biggest stress for me is safety and making sure people are safe. That's number one, is like, all right, that's my priority, making sure everyone gets through this without being hurt.
Yep.
And then on top of that is, making sure people have the best time they can.
Yeah.
And gelling as a team. It's always hard. You can do all the work you can, but until you sort of get to the ride, the first day is like working out the kinks because you're actually doing it. And it probably takes half a day, and everyone just clicks, and people know what ride for change is. So you do all the prep work and stuff, but I think until you get to that ride, it clicks. So the biggest challenge is that lead up to when we get on that ride, halfway through the first day, that it does click for people. And people, and it's really hard because you've got like almost professionals, pretty much professional cyclists, and people that just bought a bike to do this.
Yep.
And getting them to work as a team, I think it takes a lot of skill to I don't want to say manipulate, but to sort of mold people and help them fit into where they can use their strengths. You end up having those cyclists that are a lot stronger help. You know, there's hills that people need to be pushed up, and that's how the team works. You know, and I don't like to go and spread who needs to be pushed, because it's not about that. It's about doing it as a team, and people using their strengths to get, you know, everyone across the line. You know, and everyone has different dips and stuff. So I think that's, for me, sort of. Last ride, it was a bit different. I actually came off a massive injury where I almost lost my arm, and I wasn't actually going to be riding, but just me, I couldn't not ride. So I'm like, I'll just do like 10Ks a day, and, you know, just see how I go. And we have lead riders who help run the pack, and they have radios to a car and stuff. So it's, you know, we've gone to that level in safety, and I gave them permission to tell me to get off the bike if I needed to get off the bike. But for me, I was like, I'm going to do the whole ride. I was just telling people, you know, so like that, in the sense of the ride, that's been my biggest challenge, actually finishing the last ride. And, you know, trying to be a strength to the team and not, you know, be a burden to the team. But my legs managed to get up with 2 weeks training.
You put in a lot of work in a short amount of time.
So that's probably the hardest thing I've had to do with it. But
And yours, Jacob?
I'm not my strength isn't cycling. I never caught the bug. I still haven't caught the cycling bug. I don't wake up on a nice morning and go, great day for a ride. Like, I'm not that guy. So for me, it was a real challenge to like do the work, do the training, and just a challenge to get through the ride, because the actual process of riding, I don't really love, if I'm honest. Like, love the community, love what we're doing and what we're doing it for. I love the ride. Not a huge fan of riding. But I'm so glad that I did do it. And but I think that the hardest part for me was, I remember one morning, one night actually, we went to bed and it was like gale force winds. Day three, it was like blowing our cabins over. It was just like howling outside. It was raining. It was just absolutely miserable outside. And my like number one enemy is wind. I'm just light and small, and I just get blown over like a leaf because I don't have enough power in my legs to push through it. And so I was just thinking, this better be gone in the morning. We woke up and sure enough, it's windy as all get out. And I thought, this is going to be a tough day. And I was just fingers crossed it was a tailwind, and it wasn't. But my strength on the ride is morale.
You are a vibe.
I'm a vibe.
Yeah,
and look, I don't know. I'm not going to push anybody. I'm not going to be like, I'm not really going to like be able to add much physically to the ride. But what I can add is like the mental game part. I can help people push through with that. Because even when I'm tired, I'm sort of like cracking jokes and, you know, like I'm good energy. And that's about the only thing I had to lean on. So with that, I woke up, heard the wind and thought, tell you what, at least it's not raining. It's windy, but at least it's not raining. So we went to breakfast, and I was like, "It's all right, guys. It's not raining. We've got this in the bag. Like just like bringing the energy." We rode about 10 kilometers, and it is windy as I've parked myself behind someone, and I'm tucking in, and I'm struggling. I had some injuries on my knees. My legs were all taped up because my ITBs had just ruined themselves. I was struggling to walk. It was bad. I was in a bad way. My legs were really struggling. And about 10 Ks into this morning, it just starts raining. And I remember the moment I was riding, and I was like on the verge of just not being able to ride, and it just starts pouring with rain. And I've got like my big black cycling glasses on, and I'm on the outside, you just see me riding, but on the inside, like behind those glasses, there were just tears. I reached like a wall, and I was just crying as I rode. I was like, this is just the push through for this is going to be wild. This is a big day. It's raining. It's just my one win for this morning was that it wasn't going to rain, and now it has. But I just kept riding and just made the decision. I'm not stopping, and so I'll just cry and ride. And I did. It's big.
How much better does it make it once you finish it though? You're like, at least I got through that day.
Yeah, it was great.
It is hard. because you get through that, you're like, oh, so we got through that day. But then you still got another 4 to do.
Yep. Yeah. Sometimes you're just riding for the next break.
Yeah. To get
on that night, like my perspective was I didn't sleep at all that night because I had to make a decision whether we're going to ride or not. You know, and I'm lucky I've got some, we've got lead riders that, you know, we sort of make decisions together because I think it's important, you know, to make sure we're doing the right thing and get good perspective. And one of the boys rode out and actually checked. And because where we were staying was right on the beach. Yeah. And like, it was a stressful night. I didn't think we were going to ride the next day. And a lot of people probably thought that as well. Yeah. And I just remember like, all right, guys, it's going to be tough, but we're gonna ride. As soon as it gets too unsafe, we'll call it. But and we had a strategy. We'll have 2 of the strongest riders on the front, and then the next strongest riders will go down one line blocking the wind because it was a bit of a crosswind, and then the weaker riders on the other side, so the wind's getting blocked. And that was our strategy. And it's just like we're just gonna have to keep pedaling and just work. And it was a good day to get through. It was epic.
Yeah. What's a highlight for both of you from one of the rides?
Good question. Oh, I have so many highlights.
I know what mine will be. I haven't done the ride yet, but a highlight for me is every year when you guys get home, riding into everyone and riding through, what's it called? Everyone kind of lines up and you all ride through. I find that, like, I almost get emotional when you guys come through and just like, geez, these guys have pushed their bodies to the line for 7 days, and then like just being so proud of, you know, obviously I know a lot of the people on the ride. That's been my highlight as a spectator for it, but curious to know what yours is from the ride.
It was actually one of the days it was actually that night, the night where there were gale force winds. We got into the cabin, and on our beds were little envelopes, and inside the envelopes, all of them were unique. Everybody got a different envelope, and it was a personalised letter from one of the kids in PNG.
Wow, that's right.
And I just remember opening that up, and there were 3 or 4 in there, and it was, you know, like, thank you, Jacob, for like riding for us, in a sense. And they each written a letter, drawn some pictures, and and I just remember in that moment when I was, you know, literally crying the next day, you know, behind the glasses, just pushing past the limits that I thought I had.
Probably one of the things we intentionally do is, you know, we get the letters from the kids and we try and, you know, space them out. We also get letters from family. We also find out what's their favourite treat, you know. So when it's been tough, we make sure we hit those, and, you know, just so people know that we're thinking about them, that people their families thinking about them, you know, the kids in PNG are thinking about them. You know, it's just hopefully it's a little pep, and it gets them up for the day.
So did your little treat say you can go on another 30k ride after everyone's finished?
Look, I'm a good cyclist, but we have better cyclists on the ride than me. And look, I'm wise because I don't know how many people I'm going to have to push, and I don't want to be a person that needs to be pushed. So I just make sure I do what we need to do, keep the morale up, keep, you know, the vibe going, and make sure I can back up the next day. You know, but I am excited for the 1300. It'd be good. It'd be a good challenge. But like in terms of highlights and stuff, it's really hard because like there's so many highlights along the way.
It's in the little moments. There's all these like tiny little things that you almost forget about. They're so small, but they're the moments that make. Like I remember one morning, I think it was day 5 or something. In the morning, we were all standing around our bikes in the dark, about to go for a ride, and Josh Burgess had gone to the bathroom. And so a couple of the boys, I think you were one of them, we grabbed his drink bottle and we poured some pickle juice in there. And then we're all watching for it. So I don't know, maybe 20 k's in, we're riding. I remember I was watching for it. Right. He's riding along and he grabs his drink bottle. He takes the first swig of what he thought would be water, and he's like, "What is that?"
That's right. I stitched you up, and he thought you did it.
Yeah, because Ricky, you were the brainchild.
I did it.
He was the brainchild of the operation, saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to pour drink bottle, like pickle juice in a drink bottle." And so Ricky gave me the pickle juice in the drink bottle, and he said, "Yeah, you pour it in." And so I poured it in, thought, "Yeah, great idea. This would be funny." And then the moment he's like, who put pickle juice in my water? Ricky said, Jacob poured it. And I went, well, he's not wrong. I did pour it.
And the old classic Josh, he just sprays you with water. He does that no matter what, but yeah.
Scapegoat and got covered in pickle juice for it.
That was good.
It was worth it.
Yeah, there's so many highlights. I think one of my favourite moments on each ride is we normally stop probably a K out of coming back.
A K to go for the end
a K to
of the
go
ride.
for the end of the ride where everyone's gathering. You know, we're a K away from there, and I just stop and I get to encourage the crew and just say, "Hey, you've done it," and I line them up in a certain order, and you know, like it's phenomenal that everyone does a phenomenal job, but I like to let someone who's done something outstanding beyond, to lead in. I think it's a privilege to lead a crew in. And then we just line them up and, and us lead riders, I always go in last. And for me, I don't know, it's like corralling your ducks, whatever. But like, for me, I get to look back and go, we did it, like, and just get to reflect on, like it's tough. There's so many stresses I carry in this ride. Being, the last point of it's my fault if whatever happens, so I think, it holds a lot of weight and a lot of stress in a sense, plus the stress of riding. And, so I think that moment for me when everyone's safe and everyone's done it and they're all, we've done it. And just rolling in and families just being so proud of these people that have done something that, there's probably people that didn't think they could do it, or they didn't think they could do it. Sometimes maybe deep down I don't think they can do it, but we just encourage people's pants off because like the power of encouraging someone and telling them they can do something, because I think like society, especially Aussie culture, can knock you down, and I think we gain that habit of knocking ourselves down, and it's someone else to do. No, I couldn't do that, and I want to be that person that just chucks a fire on them and say you can do it. And the thing that I bring with that is I'll get them through, or the lead riders will push people through. We'll get them through. If I committed to pushing you to do this ride and saying you can do it and you can do it, we'll do it as a team. We've got this. I'll make sure you get through. So lots of funny moments, lots of moments of people like, that's the furthest ride I've ever done, or it's just milestones after milestones, and people just surprising themselves, and crazy little moments where there's one funny story is on the last ride. Another one about Josh. He's our class clown. We love him. And he's gone, I'll swim across that was it a river?
Yeah.
Like, and it was probably, what was it?
100 meters.
100 meters wide river. He goes, I'll swim across that for $1,000. And I called him on it. I'm like, all right, I'm in for 50. And then everyone's like, yeah, I'm in for 50. Like within 5 seconds, we had $1,000 between us, and he's getting down to his jocks. And it's the middle of winter. It's May. It is freezing. The water, especially that flowing water from the mountains where we were, freezing. So he's down his jocks, and then Murray, one of our lead riders, he's up for a good time. He goes, I'll come with you. We weren't giving him any money this way, but this is like the team spirit coming out. But ends up jumping in the water and swimming across and back, and there's just so many cool moments like that, and it's really epic.
So as the director and founder of Ride for Change, you've got all those little moments. You've got seeing people do something you didn't think they could do. You've got hundreds of $1,000s raised, impacting these kids in PNG. What would you say is the thing you're most proud of with Ride for Change?
Oh, that's a tough question. I think going from just a crazy little idea of a self-purpose to, a ride that's hopefully will be 60 plus next time, that carries a greater purpose and a greater impact. You know, I think, for me, just watching something develop from just because we decided we're going to push ourselves and it would be good for us to do that. It's now developed in. We never planned for this to be what it is today and to raise, you know, what would we be up to? We'll be up to over $300,000 raised so far. You know, I think from where it started to where it is now is sort of my big highlight. Yeah, that it's gone beyond me and the team. There's a massive support team and people want to do this. People are keen to do this and be a part from the.
So what's next for Ride for Change?
Yeah, so 2025 next year in May. I think it's from the 12th to the 18th. We'll be starting from where we're filming this podcast right now, the Active Hub, and riding 2 Vic loops, 700 and a 1300k around Victoria, and we're aiming to raise $150,000 this time. We did $127,000. Our goal was $100,000 raised last year, and we raised $127,000. So, our goal is $150,000 for this one, and we're aiming for 22 cyclists in each group and 20 support crew, media, comm, food, and all that team. So
Yep, and how can people support that?
Yeah, look, obviously people can donate now on our Raise the page. You can choose a cyclist and, you know, donate to them or donate to the whole ride. But we've also still got some spots for cyclists to be a part of this. So if it's something that, you know, grabs your attention and you want to be something, you know, a part of something that's epic, a 700k ride or a 1300k ride, and, you know, an opportunity to stretch yourself and do something crazy and cycle for a week, but be well supported, well encouraged, and just get to meet some really good people. Everyone who comes is worth hanging out with and worth chatting with, and so as long as they're listening to this pretty recently, as long as you're not listening in May 2025, you can probably still sign up for the ride. So. Yeah, but there's going to be more, every 2 years we do this, so if you listen to this and in the future we still have more rides, and I think we're going to, after next one, I think we're going to go back to Sydney and do a nicer route. We have the route king on our team now. He does all the routes and way better than me trying to do a route on a freeway. We'd love people to get in touch. We've got a website, we've got social media. There's some sick videos to watch, and you know, it does look pretty glamorous on the videos, and we try and bring a positive spin to it. You know, people are putting their body on the line doing tough things, but you know, like it's some good watch on there. It's very creative video stuff to have a look at. But we'd love, you know, we need corporate sponsors. We need, you know, everyone can play a part in sponsoring
as well.
What's that?
Do we need support crews?
Always, always keen to hear what you can do. We need media team, people that can do a bit of sports photography or videography or editing and stuff like that. There's so many different roles you can play than just riding a bike, and every little part is so important to actually being successful in raising money. And if you do come on board and you're part of the support team, you'll be impacted for sure in a positive way. It's just, I think it's a good way to grow yourself for a week, and it's an epic adventure. Like, I love it. It's something I get to ride a bike for a week, and that's my job.
And one of the easiest ways that you can support and instantly be a part of it is to donate. To just support financially. That's really what it's all for. You know, as well as the camaraderie and the change that it has in the lives of the riders. The change for the families in Papua New Guinea is huge, and even small donations make a huge difference over there. So in advance, we really appreciate all of the listeners' support for that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
This has been
I've got a story. One of my I was having to think about why So I was talking about earlier how I haven't caught the bug for cycling, but I'm going to do the 700 this next ride. I was going to be like one and done. I was going to do the ride from Adelaide and say like, yeah, tick, I've done the ride for change. But there was actually a moment after I did that ride. I went to Papua New Guinea, and there's a moment where I was at the school, and we're showing some people around the school, some potential sponsors, and I was just playing with the kids who were playing chase and stuff. And then there was a moment where I went over to just wash my hands. I was doing handstands and stuff in the dirt. It was great. And there was a moment where I was washing my hands, and a kid comes over, a little year 5 kid. And he's all smiley, and I'm like, oh, what's your name? And we had a little chat, and I was like, oh, so, what's your favourite part about the school? And I thought he was going to say like the sports equipment or the canteen. They love the canteen. Yeah. But he smiles, he looks at me, and just instantly smiling says, oh, the clean water. Wow. And my heart just sunk, and it was like it was the moment for me that was like, wow, this is so much. Like, I've missed it. This is what it's all about. Like, this kid is living in an area that's it's still a developing area, and he doesn't have access to something like clean water, and that's just something so trivial. I didn't even think about it as something that the school, quote unquote, offered. But just something so small like that. As soon as that kid said that thing, I was like, if I can just get back on the bike and raise another aiming for another $5,000 raised. Any small difference I can make, I just want to get more involved. That was a really powerful moment for me. It was one of those moments where I was like, this story sounds made up. Yeah. Like, what kid in year 5 would say that as an actual answer? But yeah, no, it was really transformative. Like, it was transformative for me, and that's what inspired me to do the next ride.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. That's a good note to end things off on an inspiring note. So thank you for sharing for everything about Ride for Change and the passion that it is, and also for being a part of it and doing the ride. Yeah. Obviously we've got you two both in here doing it, our very own Ricky, the founder of it, so it's a pretty special thing. And
JT,
I'll be on the next ride, don't worry.
How do you feel about it?
Well, I don't know, I haven't been on it yet, but I've come to realize you have to respect what it is you're doing, and hearing just this now, it's like it's worth my energy, it's worth my time, it's worth my money, it's worth my sacrifice to do it. If it's for not only the cause of trying to do something bigger than myself, trying to do a big challenge, but for those kids in PNG, like that's an amazing cause. So I'm extremely keen for it, and hopefully I'll still be alive after it to do a podcast after.
Hopefully I survive all your gel farts.
Yeah.
Oh man, gels and a week of eating not real food.
Yeah.
Look, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we'll get some episodes done while we're on the ride, so you can hear some mini drops as well.
Yep.
Great.
About EJ and different perspectives from people, and hopefully you feel encouraged. Encouraged to donate, and encouraged to maybe join us on one of our rides, or like we do group rides from the Active Hub every fortnight anyway, and something you can jump in, or you can jump in and train with us for the Ride for Change group rides. There's lots of ways you can still connect and move with us, or you can go run or play some netball or basketball, but we hopefully you feel encouraged about this today. And I think a takeaway from this is that you can do more than what you think you can, and I will encourage you in that. If you rock up and come and say I'm in for Ride for Change, I will get you through. I will encourage you through it, and you'll have a life-changing time. Honestly.
Yeah. Powerful.
Looking forward to the live little drops.
Yeah, gonna have a 360 head cam while we're riding. But thank you for you both coming on here and sharing your heart for Ride for Change. Look forward to hearing more about it, and thank you to listeners for your attention today and tuning in. We'll see you for our next episode of the Active Hub podcast.
Thanks, Joshi.